much. I know that I'm going to say what most of you were thinking, and that is that Beyonce has nothing on us. I also want to take a quick survey, because we're sort of survey-driven, and that is, how many of us in this room are either former, current, or future music educators? Can you raise your hand? Right. And how many of us in this room at least sort of like what we do? Right. And how many of us in this room plan to go back to our schools with greater knowledge as a result of this conference? That never gets put in the paper. And so we need to be our own champions, okay? And now I'm already off script. That was not my script, okay? It's a great honor to be recognized by such a distinguished audience. I was told to keep my remarks brief, and so I will. I've had the privilege of teaching music in Illinois my entire career. It has been a dream come true. I got the bug to become a music teacher my sophomore year in high school, and have been hooked ever since. So I have two stories and perhaps one didactic moment to share. Back in 1980, after finishing my master's at Northwestern, I received a call from the Tulsa Philharmonic Orchestra, asking me to come down and audition for the principal bassoon job. Also on the docket was an offer to become the bassoon teacher at the University of Tulsa, where I did my undergraduate work. This put me in a bit of a quandary, as I had recently become married, and my wife had a job in the Artistic Administration Department of the Chicago Symphony. But she encouraged me to take the audition and she said we would figure it out. So there was only one problem. I didn't win. In fact, I came in second to a high school senior. And I remember coming back and telling my wife, if I can't beat a high school senior, then I should just do what I can do successfully, and that is teach. That has always been my passion. That was some 33 years ago, and I still have that passion. I love my job. I love teaching kids about the expressive power of music. And by the way, the guy who won that job in Tulsa 33 years ago was David McGill, currently principal of bassoon with the Chicago Symphony. So, at least I can say, actually with a great deal of pride, I finished second to David. Story number two. One of the great things about sticking to a job for a long time is the relationships we build with our students. Particularly rewarding about being a high school band director is the fact that we get to teach our students for 4 years, and we see the maturation process as our students develop into young, responsible adults, hopefully. Also rewarding is to hear back from students years after they graduate and have them reflect back on how their experiences in band have helped them as adults. And so a few years ago, I received a letter from a student who was in the freshman band my first year at Willowbrook. Please remember, this is not about me, it's about all of us as teachers. And here's what he said. Greetings from a former band student. You may remember me as a troublemaking trombone player from the late 80s. I have to diverse. Troublemaking trombone player is a, what do you call it? Redundancy. I meant to contact you for 13 years, although I'm not directly involved in music anymore. Back then, you provided structure, motivation, and encouragement for me. I considered you very serious at the time, but realized how goal-oriented you were when you pushed our band to excel. I also realized how cutting edge you were with challenging music, and I have learned to do the same, although in a different capacity as Director of Horticulture here at the Rotary Gardens in Janesville. This long overdue email is to say I haven't forgotten you and your contribution to my life and appreciate all that you've done for me and other students. I think most of us have that impact on our students, and we should remember it's a lifelong impact. Finally, the lessons we teach reach far and wide. The great band leader and composer Carl King said about his own education, whatever I learned in composition or conducting or anything else, it was mostly by imitation, by experimentation, and by listening to good men and watching good men. I think that's one of the best ways of getting an education. Well, he probably should have said good people instead of just good men, but you get the point. Who you hang out with is important. For those who think they can fix education with a data-driven bar graph or acronyms or clever slogans like a nation at risk or no child left behind or the common core, I say you can't. The solution is very simple. It's the people. Hire the people who know their subject matter thoroughly and who are passionate about dispersing that knowledge to students, and learning will happen. It's the people. We are a people-driven profession. And so I would like finally to thank a few special people who've been important to me. My junior high band director, Mr. Darrell Henning, who told me I was going to play the bassoon. He said, he looked me in the eye and said, "You will play the bassoon." I didn't have a choice. Mr. Tom Swayze, my high school band director, who instilled in me the necessity to get dedicated to the practice room. Jimmy Keys, my bassoon teacher in high school, who would never start a lesson on time because he had so much information to share with all of his students that he always ran late. Jane Orzel, my bassoon teacher in Tulsa, and also David McGill's. And Professors John Painter and Bennett Rimmer at Northwestern. Final page, promise. I would also like to thank Don Filla and Ray Cooper, who gave me my first job at East Main District 63, Jim Plonke and Bruce Moss, who were fabulous colleagues when I taught at York High School. And here today are several people who have been supportive of me and who must be thanked. Mr. Mark Johnson, a Willowbrook graduate, is currently on the District 88 School Board and past president of the board. He is here with his wife, Phyllis, a retired music teacher. Okay? It's nice to have support at the top. And Mark's and Phyllis's 3 daughters were all involved in band orchestra and choir at Willowbrook. My principal, Dan Krause, is not here, but his enthusiastic leadership of our building is totally awesome. He was recently named High School Principal of the Year in DuPage County. Karen Walcott, my choir directing colleague and department chair, who put this nomination forward, is to be thanked as well. I received letters of support from Mr. Ross Kellen, who taught next door in Lombard for most of my career and set the bar high for music in our community. He walks on water just because he can. Mr. Mark Corey, a former student teacher of mine, makes me laugh whenever I see him. And he's now president-elect for IMEA. Eric DeMitz, a student who in 9th grade bid at the offer to learn to play the bassoon and liked it so much he is now a music educator. And a special thank you to Mr. Hank Hirons, who assists me in so many ways at Willowbrook. He is in his 52nd year of teaching music in our schools. You know how many high school football games that amounts to? Finally, I want to thank my family, my sons David and Jonathan, and my wife Martha, who are here. They are the best. So to paraphrase Carl King, whatever I learned about teaching or conducting or anything else, it's mostly by imitation, by experimentation, and by listening to good people and watching good people. I think that's one of the best ways of getting and giving an education. Remember, it's the people. Thanks, people.